Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, if that's a thing. If it's not such a happy Monday, then I wish you all the best in dealing with Monday. I am myself pretty tired this morning because my cats have started this thing, little ornery boos over there. They've realized that if they walk on my stomach at 3 a.m., I'll wake up, and to them, that's morning and they want treats. So I didn't sleep very well last night because of my cats, but it's okay because you know what? There's a lot of awesome stuff coming up this week, and I really wanted to jump on, do a little open journal, and share all of that with you. So yeah, so the last couple of weeks have been very eventful. Brian and I went to our first ever international rock show in Denver. We'd never been to Colorado. We hadn't really gone anywhere since like Christmas of 2019. So doing a road trip was awesome. And I had to share a little bit about that with you all because it was such a cool experience. Like we drove all the way there from the Chicago area where we live all the way to Denver. And I got some altitude sickness the first day, which I'd never had. But fortunately, by the next morning, I was feeling better. And you go there and it's like these massive tents as far as you can see, and an entire like huge event center, 3 stories, like filled with booths, and literally people from all over the world there as vendors. We met people from Madagascar, Morocco, Africa, India, Mexico, Peru. It was just amazing, all over America and Canada. A lot of the warehouses are based around Tucson, Arizona. So that's where the next big rock show is. I guess it's the biggest one. And so in February, we're going to go there too. But it was absolutely amazing. And I'm excited to write more about it. So far, I've just shared a few pictures. But we went out there on our first ever business trip because our business has grown from a little travel blog into a company that has collectibles and crystals and artwork, all inspired and connected to stories from around the world. And I think being at this rock show was so cool because it showed me how in every culture globally there's a connection to the earth, and the rock and crystal and gem business is a very international business. And it was fascinating to connect with people. Like, some of the coolest fossils on the planet come from Morocco, and there's an entire industry there where it takes an immense amount of skill and expertise to extract these different like trilobites and crinoids, all of these things from the stone. It's a real art form. And then Madagascar, I can only imagine what the landscape there is like because some of the most amazing crystals and minerals are found there. It's just phenomenal to meet people that really do this and talk about what this industry means to them. So that was a really exciting thing. And I've flown over the Rockies. I've driven through the Rockies, but I'd never been to Colorado, and I'd never actually hiked in the Rocky Mountains. And it was something I really wanted to do. So even though Brian is not one for climbing or hiking, I was like, can we please go to a park and see what we can find? And the Rocky Mountain National Park, you actually needed reservations for at least a month out. So we weren't able to go there, but I found the El Dorado Canyon State Park, and they didn't require a reservation. So I was like, let's go see if we can make it. It was about maybe a half hour away from where we were staying in Denver. And we spent the afternoon. We got to El Dorado Canyon, and unbeknownst to us, we wound up hiking in the part that's for experienced mountain climbers. There were people with ropes and hooks and all of their gear, and Brian goes, Jesse, where did you bring me to? Like, this is beyond my skill set. But I have to give him so much credit because he did do quite a bit of climbing, and he wound up going back to the river to chill for a bit. And I, of course, wanted to keep going. So I kept climbing up the trail, and then thunder just struck and surrounded the entire mountain, and the sound was unbelievable. And you just see these vertical sweeps of evergreen trees, and and see the rain start to fall and just hear the sound up there. It was so beautiful. And it has like a very distinctive kind of like a sage kind of smell in the mountains, and the air is very dry and very pure and very clear. So the smell of the rain falling with the sage and the mountain air was just like, it was such an incredible experience. And I very carefully slid my way back down because I didn't know how serious the storm was. But by the time I got to the bottom, I was totally soaked and like so happy, so happy. And I watched the rain falling on the river where a lot of people do trout fishing. There's a beautiful, beautiful river that flows around the base of the mountains there at El Dorado Canyon. And I was taking shelter under some of the trees with people who were delayed in their fishing quest. We were talking a little bit, and Brian had gone back to the car and was filming the rain from the window. It was amazing. So we wound up finding the intermediate trail part of the park after that. And that was not straight up rocks, but it was very large railroad ties and like steps. So Brian came with me for a while, and then he was like, I think I'm done. I'm like, it's fine. Because we had been on our feet for 2.5 straight days, all day, walking around this enormous rock and gem show. And I don't think I mentioned this, but it was actually over 100 degrees the 2 days we were there. So we had been going, around this outdoor market in extreme heat, but not even really feeling it because we were so excited to be there. So Brian needed a break. So as we had climbed up the intermediate trail, there were all of these warning signs about mountain lions and how there was mountain lion activity. And we were like, oh boy. Because when you read those signs, you start imagining them all around you. Like, they could be there, they could be there. And you just make peace with the fact that there are things you can't control, and just be aware. They tell you on the sign what to do if a mountain lion attacks you, which is to fight back. Like, okay. So it was an amazing hike, but a little bit, we were just a little bit on edge after reading that, but we had a great time. So that was our experience going to the rock show in Colorado. And then pretty much immediately after that, my beautiful cousin Emily got married, and she and her husband Evan have been engaged, I want to say almost over 3 years, maybe 3.5. It's been a while, and I know they've rescheduled their wedding at least twice because of COVID and everything. And we were all able to get together, and everybody had to like wear masks and that, but we didn't even care because it was so awesome to see each other. And their wedding was absolutely beautiful. It didn't feel hindered by anything. And my amazing younger brother, Sean, came with me. So Brian stayed home after the Colorado trip because he had work and stuff to get back to. And so Sean came with me, and I drove all the way to Virginia where my cousin's wedding was. So we got to see the other mountain range. We drove through the Appalachian Mountains, like through the Blue Ridge Mountains. We found the Blue Ridge Parkway. It was beautiful. And it was so cool to see the two different great mountain ranges in America back to back like that. Because the Appalachians, they almost look like the way New Zealand looks like to me in the Lord of the Rings films and stuff. Like, it's different, but there are some similarities because it's a much older mountain range and they're more rounded and totally tree covered, and the way that they recede in the distance with that atmospheric blue haze, it is just beautiful to drive through. We wound up driving through the middle of Ohio, curving down through West Virginia, and then heading through Virginia into North Carolina. I think I said I drove to Virginia. My cousin's wedding was in North Carolina. We stayed in Virginia on the way back, so sorry for the confusion there. But yeah, like I drove straight there on a Friday, like the whole way, all the way from the Chicago area to North Carolina. Didn't know I could do that. I was very proud. We stayed in an awesome little B&B house with my amazing cousins, Trinity and John. And they had chosen a place within walking distance of the reception, so we could walk back after all of our drinking and our fun night. But it was such a beautiful experience to see family, to have such a beautiful drive there. Like, I would love to go back and see more of that area. And this whole last couple of weeks is the first time, I mean, just traveling for the sake of travel and going to a place, it really rekindled so much in my spirit and reignited a lot of excitement and passion. And I have so much appreciation for the fact that in America we have this ability to do the road trip and see so much on the way. Like, you know, like we were careful, obviously, because the state of the world right now is pretty alarming with different rates in different places in terms of cases. But at the same time, you still have to live. It doesn't mean we have to pause our lives completely through that. You just adapt and take precautions and determine where your level of risk and where your comfort level is. So another reason I wanted to check in with this open journal is about my experience traveling through a time when like cases are spiking, and how to find ways to do that as responsibly as possible and participate in your life while also being mindful of others. It was a very good balance of those things on these two different road trips, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm incredibly thankful that my family is healthy and everything was such a positive experience. Like, it was so beautiful. So on the way back, we took our time, Sean and I, and we wound up finding this mountain. I mean, I really wanted to stay in like the Appalachian Mountain area on the way back because it's so beautiful. And so we got out of North Carolina into Virginia, and I see this mountain while I'm driving, and it's like a big rounded tree-covered mountain with this little rocky outcropping on top, almost like a hat. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then I was trying to find Sean some coffee and like a place that would have oatmeal for breakfast. So I followed this sign on this random highway into a town called Pilot Mountain, and did not find the coffee place, but I looked up local hiking, and it turns out that whole area is a state park called Pilot Mountain State Park. And that big hill with the little rocky outcropping is none other than Pilot Mountain. And it turns out you can park there and walk right up. They had just built a beautiful new nature center, and it was an amazing road stop. Great place to stop and use the restroom and like walk through and see an awesome little exhibit about the wildlife of the area. And Sean and I, we hiked. we hiked all the way up the mountain, and it turns out it was about 3.5 miles up. So we had a bigger hike than I had anticipated. And typically you can drive up to the top and park there and go to the overlook, but it said the road up there was closed. So it's like, oh, we'll just take the hiking path. And Sean, God bless him, man, he stayed with me. Sean can hang. He was like, I wish I would have eaten more, sis. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I will get you food. But once we were up there, we kind of had no choice but to go back down. But it was so awesome. I got to climb a mountain with my brother and see these amazing overlooks and appreciate the beauty of the Appalachian Mountains, see the actual Blue Ridge Mountains in the distance. It was awesome. It was awesome. And being a girl from a place in Indiana, like, I mean, where everything is pretty flat, places where there's hills and interesting geography, it's always really, really called me, because I love the experience of climbing mountains and seeing different types of terrain and really feeling what it's like to be in that place. So it was a real gift that day to get to go hiking with my brother and experience that. And we wound up staying pretty close to there, because after we hiked and we did that like 6-mile walk up and down, we were tired. So we found a little like hotel place after meandering around, seeing what was in the area, and wound up staying the night and driving the rest of the way home. And for all of my horror genre fans out there, we found on the way back from Virginia to home that we were going to go through the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is directly across Ohio on the banks of the Ohio River. And for anybody that's ever heard of the Mothman, maybe you've heard of or seen the movie The Mothman Prophecies, there's a fascinating local folklore history about the sightings of this large, dark, bird-like man creature with glowing red eyes that is thought to be a harbinger of death or doom or some impending destruction. And the fact that so many people have seen the same thing there, it's really interesting. I think the sightings start around 1966, and then there was the tragedy of the collapse of the Silver Point Bridge, which they've reconstructed, and now it's a memorial. Or I think just the Silver Bridge, yeah. But if you haven't heard of or looked up that story, it's incredibly interesting. There is a lot of tragic loss associated with it, so it's not like the happiest topic, but it's so interesting. And I was just like, we have to go, because there was a sign for the Mothman Museum, and I was like, Sean, you want to go? He's like, yeah. So we did, and it was really interesting. They had a lot of original newspaper clippings, a great display, awesome little gift shop with all kinds of quirky things. I brought Brian back some souvenirs. But yeah, like, so if you're ever driving between Ohio and West Virginia, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, they have a beautiful river walk there with big murals that are super cool. Lots of fun little gift shops. It's a historic town, so it has like a historic district, and the one and only Mothman Museum. So check it out if you're on a road trip and you want somewhere interesting to go, because it was definitely worth the stop to get to read about all of the actual accounts, and fascinating. So that was our road trip to North Carolina and back. And while all of this has been going on, I have been writing and developing a podcast. And it's something I've wanted to do for a while, is to really do like a true audio show about the intersection of folklore and travel. And that's where I feel like us stopping at the Mothman Museum on a road trip is a pretty good segue. So the entire inspiration for starting a business and doing this is taking all of those experiences I have as a traveler, as an artist, and connecting to my storyteller roots. Oh, my cats are talking. Hey, babies. If you hear them, that's Max and Banshee. Hi, guys. Okay. Anyway, so this is what it's like when I'm recording the podcast too, is my cats like to participate. But I've managed to record the trailer, an introduction episode that explains kind of what the format and the idea and inspiration behind it is. And the first episode, Wonders of Wiltshire, was just released today. And I am so excited because I have a whole vision for this, where every month I'll come out with 2 full episodes. And it's going to be about 10 episodes a season. So my goal is to do a season in the fall and a season in the spring. And that gives me a little bit of time in the dead of winter and the height of summer to do some traveling and gather material and research and really plan these out in a way that makes them engaging and interesting, because the research is largely what fuels our inspiration for finding the places we travel. And so this is kind of my way of taking that part of the process and creating a storyteller-based medium that people can listen to and enjoy and maybe learn something from. And the whole point is to ignite people's curiosity and their imagination and inspire listeners to discover places they might want to go and travel, or even just learn about, because some people love to really go there and some people prefer being at home and would rather kind of armchair travel and learn about things through the lens of, you know, things like folklore and legends and like the geography, the history. There are so many things that color the character of a place, and I thought it would be really fun and fascinating to take some of my favorite places I've ever been and explore all of those facets and dedicate full episodes to them. So each full episode is going to come out bi-weekly. The very first one that came out today is called Wonders of Wiltshire. It is all about Wiltshire, England, which is the southwest area in England. It's, I think the city of Bath is technically in Wiltshire. If not, it's right on the border. And then it has this amazing array of World Heritage sites. It has Stonehenge. It has Avebury, the Avebury Stone Circle with the 14th century village inside. It's a phenomenal region of the world. And it has one of the oldest known long barrows in all of Europe, the West Kennet Long Barrow. I go into a lot of detail with that. So the West Kennet Long Barrow, if you're not familiar with what the barrows are, there's tons of them across Europe, especially in Great Britain. And they're these large earthen mounds that were hollow, and it was where people would lay their dead to rest. But what's interesting is there's evidence that they would either only put select people in there, or maybe people were rotated in and out, because when they've excavated the remains, there would only be maybe 40 to 50 different skeletons, and it would be every, infants, men, women. So it wasn't restricted to like just male leaders of a community. It was representative of the whole community, but either these places had been excavated before, or not everybody was laid to rest there, as you would see in an ossuary or in the catacombs. So the West Kennet Long Barrow in particular, all of the remains have been excavated and cleared, but it is a site that you can actually walk into. And it's amazing because it's in the middle of the countryside, within view of Silbury Hill, within, I think, just a mile or a mile and a half from Avebury. And you can walk up this big hill in a field and walk into this earthen tomb that was constructed in what they estimate to be over 3,000 years ago. It's incredible. And there's a small information sign posted in the front. And you just have incredible views up there, if nothing else. You can see the entire landscape surrounding it and really get a feel for the landscape and the environment there. It helps you imagine yourself into what life may have been like there. And today it's a lot of farm fields. Back then there may have been more trees. I've read that that part of England used to have a lot of boulders that were littered throughout the landscape, because at one point in like ancient history, there was a stone crust over parts of that area of England, and over time they broke up into boulders. So all of that are things that I go into in the podcast, and the best part is I dive into the folklore and the ghostly legends and everything from funny stories to like creepy ones. I love the whole spectrum, because every time you go somewhere and you really talk to the locals and open your heart to things you may not know about the place, you will discover something. However large or small a town or a city, however remote or busy the place is, there are always stories to be found. And I particularly love going to the primary sources whenever I can, to just find things that aren't in the first page of a Google search, for example. Like, I want to find the things you really have to dig for or learn from the local people and make them more accessible to give people a full spectrum understanding of a place, or at least a fun, engaging introduction that inspires them to travel. So that's the whole point of the podcast, and it is called The Enchanted Path. So it's available for sure on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, all of that. It should be on Apple Podcast. Sometimes the Apple Podcast takes a bit longer to upload with the RSS feed and whatnot. I don't know why, but Apple just takes a little longer sometimes, but it will be up there. So at least immediately today, I know for a fact you can find it on Spotify, you can find it on Anchor, and all these other sites. So the Enchanted Path podcast has a new home on my website, which is jessieandgrumpygnome.com. And I'm going to upload the full audio for every episode and the transcripts on there. So that way you can also listen right from my website. And I'm really trying to keep this podcast ad-free. I want it to be as seamless as possible. So I did start a Patreon for it. And my lowest membership tier is like $1 a month. And that my goal is to make the content available early on Patreon. If you decide to sign up for $1 a month, I can do a fun little shout out for you on the podcast. I'd love to do that actually, just out of gratitude. But any support like that helps the show keep going. And because I'm doing this through Anchor, they also have a link set up where people can just do donations if they want to support the show. But the fun thing about the Patreon is it gives me the ability to merge all the content of the podcast with the other aspects of this business I'm creating, The Adventures of Jessie and the Grumpy Gnome. And the whole idea is that travel begins in the imagination. So my goal is to create things that inspire people's imaginations and encourages them to create their own adventures. So there's different tiers where for $5 a month, I'm doing all kinds of fun digital downloads. Every episode of the Enchanted Path podcast has original music that I'll be creating. So I'm going to make those available as downloadable tracks through the Patreon if you like instrumental stuff. And I'm starting out with piano because it's what I know, but I'm definitely going to have some creative fun with diversifying the sounds for different episodes. So I'm super excited about that. So there will be like music downloads. I'm going to be doing custom artwork inspired by each place for different episodes. I really want to make like coloring pages and fun little PDFs that kind of support the content of the stories I'm telling. And it's just gonna be fun. And then if you're the kind of person that likes to receive physical things in the mail, there are 3 tiers that I've created that I'm super excited about. There's an $11 a month where every month you'll get like a note with a little art card related to the episode content, and a custom sticker, like, because I love stickers. So every month I'll design a new vinyl sticker that goes with the themes that I'm talking about. And if you like crystals, because crystals are such a huge part of our business, for $22 a month, there's going to be a small gift box with a crystal of the month. We'll send you a fun information card, the sticker, and all that good stuff. And then for $35 a month, I'm going to do a full merch box. So if you're the kind of person that enjoys subscriptions and fun surprises in the mail, I love sending people things in boxes. It's why I'm really enjoying creating the Etsy and all of this, because I just really enjoy it. And for anybody that's really into folklore and history and travel, it's gonna be awesome. So so yeah, those are all the things I'm building. I will include links to both my website and the Patreon, and the direct link to Spotify for the podcast in the video description of this, so you could go right to it and click and find it. And my final announcement, which is really, really exciting, is we are going to be doing the Chesterton European Market every Saturday in October. So starting this coming Saturday, we're going to have a booth there, and we have so many amazing new pieces that we brought back from Denver that we've been sourcing over the past year. There's fossils, there's meteorites, there's crystals, like there's a lot of great stuff that I am so excited to share with people in person, as well as handmade gifts and things that I love to do. Like I love to make bookends with pieces I collect. I love to do like wooden coaster sets with custom artwork, ornaments. There will be a lot of fun handcrafted gift-based items, as well as the crystals. And all of it is inspired by travel and history and folklore, and all of these places and things we're experiencing is what we bring into our business and the things we offer. I'm also having a blast designing the tent. We got our tent and we set it up and all the pieces are there. And I'm making some fun little display pieces. So I want our little craft booth at the market to be an experience, and I'm super excited. Like, fall is my favorite season, absolute favorite season, and I'm going all in. So if you happen to be in the Chesterton, Indiana area, come by the Chesterton European Market. It is Saturday from 8 to 2, and it runs through the end of October. Hi, Banshee. So there's 5 weekends in October, I believe. Yeah, so for every weekend in October on Saturday, we'll be there 8 a.m. to 2. And then I believe they're having an event on December 4th. And that we're definitely doing because so much of our travel, it occurs over the winter because we love going and experiencing the Christmas season in different parts of the world. So I am making a lot of very fun, like Krampuslauf inspired things. All of that would be at the event in December. And if I can get it done in time, the later October dates as well. So yeah, so those are all the things coming up with our business. Check out the podcast. I love feedback. Let me know if you listen to it, if you're inspired, like what you think. If you have any ideas for awesome topics that would be cool to cover, please let me know. If you've been to some of the places that I'm talking about and have your own experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to set up a way for people to do that, like beyond just a comment section, you know? It would be really fun to put together an actual page that shares other people's experiences related to those places. So I just see it as a great way to build an awesome community of creators and storytellers and people passionate about travel and just the wonders of the earth and the connection of the planet, all of these things. Because stories connect us, you know, and there's always something new to learn when you open your mind and you let yourself just be immersed in a place. So yeah, I think that's about everything. So yeah, like full rundown, come see us at the market on Saturdays. Brian and I will be there. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun. It might be a little cold, but that's okay because autumn is beautiful and that's a part of it. And check out the podcast, and I will keep posting updates with that. And thank you so much for watching this and joining me on this Monday. And yeah, sorry, it's garbage day here, so lots of noise going on out there. But yeah, have an awesome start to your week. Thank you again for hanging and listening and catching up on things with me. And hopefully I'll see you at the market or hear from you. So enjoy, and I will talk to you all soon. For now, bye.